Hi and welcome to donalrafty.com. In today's video I'm going to give you 6 tips for how to make your job application stand out when you're applying for a new role in the tech industry. We've all heard the news about the downsizing and the layoffs in big tech companies over the last few months. It can feel quite overwhelming if you're trying to break into the tech industry, you're trying to get your first job, you're trying to move careers, or you're just graduating from university. But it's important to remember that there's still plenty of jobs available in the tech industry. It pays well still, and it's one of the most interesting areas to be in. So with that in mind, there's a lot of competition for the open roles at the minute. It can be quite difficult to break into these roles, especially since we now have slightly less of them and more people with highly sought after skills available. So I'm going to make this video to help you with some of the tips I've learned over 5 years working with interns and graduates in my own organisation. So tip number 1. You want to make sure that when you're applying for a job that you read the job description very carefully. 1, it's probably important to make sure that it is a job that you would be interested in. But 2, it's really important to try and pick out the keywords in that job description. And you need those keywords to be able to turn your own CV or resume into a focused resume. So when you're applying for a job, you want to make sure that you're adapting and changing your CV every single time that you apply for a new job. You want to make it very specific based on the job description that you've read. You want to highlight the keywords. You want to make sure that the achievements that you've had so far, both professionally and personally, are related, or you change the language that you use to make sure that you call out how they are related to the keywords in the job description. The reason that you want to do this is because most organizations use a artificial intelligence or otherwise CV screener. And basically all that screener does is it looks for the key phrases, key sentences that that company feels they need to see in a CV in order for it to pass the first verification stage. So if you have these keywords, you understand what they're asking for from the role description, the job description and the job posting, then you're able to turn that around, use your own CV to get those keywords in there, get the phrases that you think that organization wants, and then you'll be able to pass the first screening. A bonus tip for when you're submitting a CV is to look into using tools like Loom, L-O-O-M. These let you make short video recordings where you can basically present the reasons why you feel you'll be great for a position, how you would match up to the job description, and what you can bring to the role. Tip number 2 is to build yourself a portfolio. You can do things like contribute to open source projects. So if you go onto GitHub, you find a project that you're interested in, a community that you feel you can contribute to, then you can build a portfolio of that. So demonstrating how you contribute to open source projects, your knowledge around it, the knowledge that you gained and experience and learning that you got from that can form part of your portfolio. The other way you can do it is to build up your own personal projects. So this is a very good way of doing it. When I was finishing up in university and I wanted to get a job, it was at the start of a turndown here in Ireland. So there wasn't very many jobs at that point in time either. So I specialised in Android development very early in the Android development days. I was one of probably only a handful of software engineers in Ireland at the time. So I started building up basically Android projects that demonstrated what I could do. So I demonstrated how I could use the different SDKs, the different APIs, what I could build with Android. So I built small little projects, flight tracking projects, weather projects. You can look for inspiration from other people on GitHub, and you can basically rebuild other projects, other kind of example projects that are out there, and put your own spin on them. Show what what you would change about some of the projects, things like that. It's really about showcasing that, okay, you may not have any professional experience, but you do have an interest in this area, you want to grow into it, it's something that you're going to learn quickly. Tip number 3, storytelling. So this one is one I struggled with for a long time in my career. If I look back on it, it would have helped me a lot if I had known this as a graduate, as an intern. So this one I think is very important. It's easy to pass it off, say it's just a soft skill. I shouldn't need storytelling at the start of my career. And that's the wrong attitude to have. If you can build up your skills, and I know it can be difficult for someone who's invested in, what we see as hard skills in terms of software development and programming and coding, but if you can build up your storytelling skills even before you apply for a job, it's going to make it so much easier when you apply for a job. If you can do it on the job when you're a graduate in your early years, that's really, really good as well. It'll help accelerate your career really, really fast. And in my next video, I'm going to focus on some more tips for accelerating your career once you're an early graduate or early in your software engineering. But storytelling, it's very, very powerful. So one tip when you're applying for a job is to have a summary at the very, very top of your CV. And in that summary, really create a synopsis of your experience, your skill set, and really where you want to go with your career. Again, keep it focused and adapted for each job that you apply for based on a job description, but it really should call out and tell the story of you. So make sure you highlight any achievements that you've had, both professional and personal, interesting hobbies that you may have, achievements that you may have had in academia that are maybe not related to software development or the role. You can call them out and really demonstrate your individuality in the summary. It really makes you stand out. I'll post my summary for my CV in the description below. Bear in mind, I've had 15 years experience, so my summary is going to be very different to yours, but you can use it as a template, and I'll share some additional templates and examples over on my website, donalrafferty.com, as well. Tip number 4, cover letters. They appear optional in pretty much every application process, but it's important to think of them as being mandatory. Definitely mandatory if you're starting out in your career, early career, or you're looking for your first job. But even I found 15 years into my role, into my career, they are still, pretty much mandatory. If you don't supply a cover letter, it kind of gives the impression that you're really just applying, just for the sake of applying. So you want to make sure that you put some effort into a cover letter. You want to try and address it to the person that is hiring. LinkedIn is a good way of finding out who that person is. You want to make your cover letter personal as well. You want to make sure that linked to, the last tip about storytelling, that you highlight why you would be good for the role. Speak about what you want to do in your career, what you want to achieve, because at the same time, a job is a reciprocal in nature. You want to be able to state that what you want to get out of the job, so that there's no kind of misconception. You don't get a role and then after a year you leave. That's something hiring managers and hiring teams want to provide too. So it's really, really good if you're in your cover letter, you're clear about your ambitions, your areas that you want to become an expert in, and your short to medium term goals. What you think you can get from that organization based on your research, based on looking at their culture, the different roles that are in it. Maybe if you've talked to people that are already working there, wrap that up in a cover letter. It shows that you've done your research. It shows that you're interested in the company. It shows that you know what they're looking for. It shows that you know what you're looking for. Tip number 5 is networking. So if you have identified an organization that you really, really want to work for, they've got a role that you think suits, make sure to do your own research using LinkedIn and trying to connect with some employees that would be in a team close to the role that you would be applying for. Try and find out about the culture, try and find out about the hiring process. But you want to do it in a way that isn't, you're not reaching out and being needy. You're not, being, greedy in terms of just asking for their time so that you can benefit from it. read their profile, see what they're interested in, reach out to them saying, hey, I noticed that you work on this, or you've worked for this company for so many years. Loads and loads of people are, going to be really proud of the work that they do. They're going to want to talk about it. They're going to be interested in sharing with you about their experience with companies. I know I've done it in the past. I'm very, very happy to talk to people who reach out to me on LinkedIn. I've posted some templates that you can use for messaging, so you can copy and paste these. They're in the description below this video. Just change them for your own needs. These templates have worked for me in the past, talking to people on LinkedIn or other social media websites, or even reaching out via direct email. And my network has been part of my success as much as anything else. So building your network early in your career, even if it doesn't lead to a job, is very, very worthwhile. So my sixth and final tip is about feedback. So make sure that you become comfortable with asking for feedback and become comfortable with getting critical feedback. So critical feedback really leads to us learning very, very quickly. And you shouldn't be afraid of someone pointing out gaps in your CV or gaps in your project work. You should be seeking these out proactively and working on them to fill those gaps and building a plan to learn about any gaps that you have. So if you apply for a position and you don't get it, make sure that you reach out to the hiring manager, or if they're not responsive, try and reach out to someone on LinkedIn that works at that company through your network that you've built, as per the last tip, and try and get feedback. Try and understand, is there a certain skill set that the organization wants that you just don't have, and then make a plan to get that skill set if that's the organization and that's the job that you want. So, I was very, very slow to learn this in my early career. I thought I was, very good at what I done, and I didn't have any blind spots, and that I should have just been successful because of that. But that's totally not true. You have to be aware that you will have blind spots. 15 years later, I still have blind spots that I rely on other people to call me out on, and that's a skill that you, as an early career graduate or intern, if you can build that, if you can have the confidence to proactively ask people for feedback, because it's very, very hard for people to give feedback. People don't want to be critical, but if you can coax that out of them, if you can get honest, critical feedback that you can use to adapt your current projects, adapt your CV, adapt your portfolio, and then put that into practice, then your next interview, your next application is going to be, immensely more improved because of that feedback. So they're my tips for anybody who is looking to start their career in the tech industry or pivot from another career to the tech industry. I've been working in the tech industry for 15 years. I've learned so much. Things move at a hectic pace, which leads to so much growth, so many opportunities, so many different projects to work on. So it's really a great area to get into. I hope these hints and tips have been helpful. If you want to learn more, please visit my website, donalrafferty.com. I'll be releasing more free guides over there, more videos, and more resources over the coming months around early career development, career acceleration, and my tech to product management career change.